Welcome everybody. It's lovely to see you all back. I'm delighted to welcome you to the final session of our little 4-week mini-series, the Primary Care Yoga series. I hope those of you that have enjoyed the previous sessions have enjoyed them, and today's session is a little bit of a continuation of some of the themes that we've been using already in our practice, but we're going to use the sun salutation as a little bit of our focus for today's session. So the sun salutation is a little bit more of a flow-based practice, and we'll be building up on the rounds of the sun salutation, and it's probably one of the more commonly used yoga flows, and we have loads of different variations of these that are used over and over again in yoga practices. They're quite a new practice relative to the history of yoga. They're probably only about 100-150 years old, and they do use traditional yoga postures. There's lots of variations of the sun salutation, so I'm going to take you through one version today, and we'll be using a few postures just to help us to warm up various areas of the body. But it's a lovely all-round practice that you can use, and you can take it into a little daily practice. It's usually used in the mornings, so hopefully you'll have something to take away with you at the end of today's session, and I really hope you enjoy it. So we'll start in the usual way. So I'd like you to come to lay on your mat. We'll start in our normal relaxation. Come to lay on your back and choose whichever position is comfortable for you. So you may want to be laid with your feet straight out ahead of you, or you may want to bend in the knees. You can take your blanket as a prop. You can either have it over yourself. You could tuck it under the knees if that's a little bit more comfortable for the lower back, or you can use it as a pillow. So have a little play around just for a couple of moments, and let's get ourselves comfortable and settled so that we can start to just check in for the session and just start to become a little bit more mindful before we start today's practice. So have a shuffle around, make any last minute adjustments that you feel that you may need. Have a wriggle. Try to have the palms facing up to the ceiling. And we're slowly allowing the body and the mind to arrive on the mat. Gently let go of any thoughts or feelings that you were carrying before the practice. Let's just leave those outside the room as we start to bring the focus to the present moment and bring our focus to the body. So we start in the usual way, checking in, doing a little body scan from head to toe, just very lightly touching on various areas as you go down the body, and you're simply noticing any feelings or sensations that are with you. We're not really trying to change anything here, just notice. And we bring our attention to the meaning of the word yoga, which we've used as our focus for this little mini series. So that means to join. So remind yourself that we're using that to think about the joining of the mind and the body. And we also remind ourselves that the breath is the anchor here. So if the mind starts to move away or wander, bring it back to the breath. start to notice your own breath. You may want to pop your fingertips on your belly, just as a little bit of a check-in here, so that you can notice the movements of the breath. So start to notice how the fingertips move together on the out breath, and move apart on the in breath. Bring your attention to the back of the throat now. The mouth is closed. And the back of the throat is our control center when we're doing yoga postures. And we use this to help to steady speed and the flow of the breath. So we have a nice even flow of the in breath and a nice even flow of the out breath. This is our Ujjayi breathing technique. And Ujjayi means victorious. So bring your focus here. You may start to notice that noise in the back of the throat that sounds a bit like the waves of the sea. Take a couple of final deep breaths in and out, really just slowing it down. Nice, steady, even flow. And then on your next out breath, let's start to just move those fingertips. You may want to just clench the wrists or the hands, the fingertips, and clench the toes, and then gently just start to circle the wrists and the ankles. And then let's take a bend into those knees and hug the knees into the chest, gently rocking from side to side, massaging that lower back, allowing those contact points at the back of the pelvis just for a couple of moments. And then gently come to rest on your right hand side. A little pillow with the hands. Take a pause. Let's slowly then raise yourself up to a seated position. And you can remove your blanket or any props and things that you have around you. And we're going to start with our Janu Shirshasana. So this is our head to knee pose. So we're going to start just by warming up the hamstrings. So we take the feet out, stretched out ahead of you in our staff pose. But let's take a bend into the right knee. And then we're going to turn the right knee out so that the sole of the right foot comes to that inner left thigh. And let's take an in-breath and raise the arms up and overhead. And let's exhale, just folding towards that left shin, ankle, foot, or toes. Trying to keep the gaze up towards the toes. So just avoid collapsing the spine. So the spine's nice and long here. And if it feels strong in the back of the leg, take a bend into that knee. So we want to feel the stretch both in that right sort of lower back, around the back of the hip region, and also down the back of that left leg. Take a deep breath, keep the mouth closed. Use that nice deep Ujjayi exhalation to really deepen into the posture. And then we slowly walk the hands back up And we just come to change sides. So let's take the right leg out and the left knee takes a bend. Fold the knee out to the side and the sole of the left foot just comes to the right inner thigh. Let's take an inhalation. Breathe those hands up and we exhale, just folding forwards towards the right shin, ankle or toes. Being mindful to keep that gaze towards the toes. So the chin is to shin rather than nose to knee here. Hopefully feeling that lovely stretch down the back of the hamstring and also into the lower back on that left side. One last nice long deep exhalation, Ujjayi exhalation with the mouth closed. And then let's slowly creep the hands back up. And then let's take the left foot back out, but let's place the soles of the feet to the ground. So we have a bend in the knees. And we're just going to take our little seated pigeon. So let's cross the right ankle over the top of that left knee. So just on the thigh or the lower thigh. And then we're going to just take those fingertips behind us. So just ground the hands slightly behind the bottom. Whichever hand or finger position is good for you. So you may want the fingers pointing forwards or out to the sides, whatever's comfortable on the wrists. And really use that raise of the chest. So opening up through the chest and the heart center. Really use that to increase that stretch on the outer right thigh. And just that upper right leg. So let's slowly release. And then let's change sides. So the right foot comes down and then the left ankle crosses over the right knee. And again, let's take those hands slightly behind us, lifting up through the heart center. Getting a nice deep stretch on that outer left thigh. Nice deep exhalation. And then let's release that foot. Now we're going to come onto all fours. So take your all fours position. You roughly want the knees below the hips. You may want some padding underneath, so you can take folded blankets if you need a little bit of extra cushioning. And the wrists, again, roughly under the shoulders, or the hands could be slightly further forwards if that's a bit strong for you. And we're going to spread through the fingers. So I've got a nice even weight distribution into the hands. We're going to take some circles here, and I'd like to take some circles just through the wrists. So with the sun salutation, we do use a little bit of loading. We sort of come in and out of downward dog a little bit. So we're just warming up the wrists. And if it feels a bit strong, you can just obviously bring the bottom back a little bit further. Just experiment here and just load through that range of movement very gently. And let's change direction. So taking some nice gentle circles. And then let's just pause in the middle. Let's take a cat-cow. So let's inhale, we just open up the chest forward. So now we're just warming up the spine. So let's look forwards, dip the lower belly, take an in-breath, and let's exhale, we round through the spine, just looking between the legs. Belly button pointing up to the ceiling or drawing up to the ceiling. And then let's inhale, we look forwards. Dip that belly. Let's exhale. Round through the spine. And come to a neutral position. And then we're just going to take a little shoulder action here. So we come back to the all fours position in a neutral. I'd like you to imagine that you've almost got a piece of string between your shoulder blades. So I'd like you just to sort of almost lift up between the shoulder blades. So you're kind of pushing through the fingers and the hands. And I'd like you to just dip through the shoulder blades. So almost like the chest is dipping and just coming down. So we're just bringing this action in. We're lifting up through the shoulder blades, that piece of string pulling you up, and then just dip through the center of the shoulder blades, just mobilizing those muscles in the upper back, so coming up, and dip that back down, and then just come back to sit on the heels. We'll take a nice child's pose here, so take fingertips out ahead of you, forehead comes to the mat. You may want to take the knees out wide. Just take a nice, gentle, deep breath here. Stretching through the backs of those shoulders. And then we walk the fingertips up, raise the head up, and we're just going to come to a seated posture. So we're just sat with the bottom on the heels, and I'd like you, if you've got socks on, now is a good time to remove them. So if you've got anything on your feet, just want a little bit of contact now with the feet. So removing your socks. We're now going to come to a little seated sun salutation or kneeling sun salutation sequence. So we're going to bring in a little bit of flow, and this is a really lovely calming sequence if you're looking for something towards the end of the day. It's a lovely practice to close your day. So we'll talk through the sequence together. So we're going to take an inhalation, and we just come and sit the bottom up, and we raise the hands up and overhead. So we inhale those hands, looking up to the ceiling. Inhale, slight back bend here, and then we exhale, folding forwards into child's pose. So we extend the hands out ahead, sit that bottom back onto the heels into child's pose. And then the next inhalation, we come onto our all fours and straight into our cat-cow. So we look forwards, we dip the belly, open up the chest, and then we exhale and we round through the spine. And we just come into our cow, and then we come back to neutral on the inhalation, and then we tuck the toes and we exhale back down into downward dog now. So we just bring the thighs towards the belly, breathe at your own natural pace now, and let's just take a little pedal of the feet because it's the first downward dog of the session. So let's warm up the back of those hamstrings. Okay, and then come to a neutral posture, and then we're simply going to lower back down to the knees, and on the next inhalation we raise the arms back up and overhead, back into a little Urdhva, and then let's exhale and come to sit back onto the heels. So that's just a really nice calming sun salutation. It's actually quite nice to close your day or even start your day. So we're going to take a couple of rounds of this. Use your only timing with your breath. So listen to the body, and obviously take this at your own pace, but I'll talk you through this together. So let's inhale and sit that bottom up, arms stretch overhead, looking up to the ceiling. And then let's exhale, we come straight down into child's pose. Take a brief pause. And then let's inhale, we come into our cat-cow. So we inhale, look forwards, dip the belly. And then we exhale, round the spine. Come back to neutral. Let's tuck the toes. And then let's inhale. And we take that bend into the thighs, into downward dog. We exhale here. Take one more in breath. And we exhale. Let's drop the knees back down to the mat. And on the next inhale, we take those hands back up and overhead. And let's exhale. And we just sit the bottom back down, or the bottom back down onto the heels. Okay, we take another round. So let's inhale, the hands come up and overhead. Let's exhale, folding into our child's pose onto our mat, deepening that stretch. Inhale, we come into our cat-cow. So we inhale, dip the belly, looking forwards. Exhale, let's round through the spine. We inhale, coming back into neutral spine. Let's tuck those toes. Inhale. And let's exhale now down into downward dog. So take that bend in the knees. Straighten up through the legs here. Take an inhale. Exhale, the knees come back down to the mat. And then we inhale, the hands come back up and overhead. And we exhale, sit the bottom back down. And we take one more round. So let's inhale, bottom comes up, arms come up and overhead. Let's exhale, really deepening these movements now. So exhale into child's pose. Let's inhale into all fours, coming into cat-cow, dip the belly, broaden through the collarbones. Exhale, round through that spine, looking between the legs. Come back to neutral. Inhale. And then let's tuck those toes and exhale it back down into downward dog. So straightening up through the legs. Take another in-breath. Let's exhale those knees back down to the mat. And then inhale, arms come up and overhead. And we exhale just to sit the bottom back down. So it's a really lovely, gentle way of bringing movement to the spine. So we're going to now come into a little standing sequence. So I'd like you just to bring yourselves to the top of the mat and set yourselves up in mountain pose, so our Tadasana pose. So this is where the feet are hip distance apart. The palms are facing forwards. And just have a little reset. So just setting the feet down. So you may want to just pick up the toes and place them down a couple of times on the mat. You might just want to lift the heels. So really get that center point of balance, even weight distribution between the right and the left foot. Really grounding into those feet. Let's engage the inner thighs and pull the tailbone down and long. And engage the lower belly. Broaden through those collarbones. This is your Tadasana, nice steady mountain pose. So we're going to take a round of the standing sun salutation now. So we're going to take the hands into prayer on the in-breath. So let's breathe in and the hands come into prayer. Let's exhale here. And as we breathe in, the hands come up and overhead. So this is called Urdhva Hastasana. We look up to the ceiling, slight little back bend if the back wants to allow it. And then on the next out breath, let's sweep the hands forwards and we fold towards the floor. So the hands or the fingertips come all the way down towards the floor and keep a nice deep bend in the knees here. So fingertips just come to wherever they naturally want to rest. They may want to rest on the shins. This is Uttanasana. This is our standing forward bend. Really lovely stretch all the way down the back of the body. So our head is allowing gravity to stretch the spine, stretch through those little vertebral discs. And we're getting the stretch down the back of the legs here. Let's just ground those fingertips and step the right foot back. So the right foot comes into a nice deep lunge and then we drop the right knee. And let's inhale and we just broaden through those collarbones, looking up. So just looking forwards. And now we're going to ground the hands And we're going to come into plank. So let's tuck those right toes, raise the right knee, and then step the left foot back into plank. And as we did that little shoulder warm up on all fours, let's raise through the middle of the shoulder blades. The hips are high and push back through the heels. So the front body's doing a little bit of work here. Let's now drop the knees, and we're going to come into a position that you may not be that used to. It's called 8-point namaskara or Ashtanga namaskara. So we're going to lower the front body down, but we're going to actually keep the pelvis high initially. So let's take a bend into the elbows. The elbows almost want to bend backwards, and we lower the chin, chest, and forehead to the mat. So the chin is coming to contact with the mat. And then let's slide the pelvis back so that the pelvis is now in contact with the mat, and the tops of the feet come into contact with the mat as well. So we've got the front body now straight in contact with the mat. Let's walk the fingertips back to the mid-ribs, and then we're going to raise the head into cobra. So raise the head and shoulders up into a little cobra. Take an in-breath. Let's breathe out. Lower back down. Let's tuck those toes and briefly come onto all fours. And then we're going to come into downward dog. So let's bring those thighs to meet the belly. You can keep a little bend in the knees initially. And then come into down dog. Now on the next inhalation, we're going to just inhale and raise the right foot behind. So raise the right foot back. And then I'd like you to come onto the left toe. So we're just going to push up a little bit, allowing a bit of space for that right foot to step through. So come onto those left toes and roll the body forwards. And then the right foot is going to come and just step between the hands. So it's just allowing a little bit more space for that transition. It can feel quite awkward. Drop the left knee. Inhale, look forwards. And then we exhale. Left foot comes to join the right, so we come back into our standing forward bend. Uttanasana. We'll take a nice bend into the knees, engage those inner thighs, and then the hands are going to come and sweep all the way up and overhead. So we're coming back up into our little mini back bend, Urdhva Hastasana. And then bring the hands back down into Tadasana. So that's back to our mountain pose. And we'll go on the other side. So that's the single-sided sun salutation. So we do the same on the left side. So let's take our inhalation and the hands come into prayer. Let's exhale. And then let's inhale, arms come up and overhead. Let's exhale, folding forward. Nice deep bend in those knees into our standing forward bend, Uttanasana. Just ground the fingertips and step back with the left foot. Ground the left knee. And let's open the chest and look forwards. Let's now ground the hands. Tuck those left toes and bring the right foot back to join it into plank. Let's ground the knees. And then we lower the chin, chest to the ground. Pelvis stays high for a brief moment, and then slide the pelvis back down to the mat. And the tops of the feet come into contact with the mat. And then let's walk the fingertips back to the mid-ribs and we come into cobra. So let's lift up. Inhale. Let's exhale it back down. And then we transition into downward dog. You can come onto the knees to start with, or you can come straight into your downward dog, whichever feels right for you. Inhale, left foot comes up behind you. And then let's come onto those right toes. Fold that left knee through up towards the chest, and then the foot comes between the hands. So left foot comes between the hands. Drop the right knee. We look forwards, take an inhalation. And then let's now bring that right foot to join the left, back into a standing forward bend, Uttanasana. And let's take those hands forwards and all the way up and overhead back into our Urdhva Hastasana, a little back bend here. And let's bring the hands back down into Tadasana. That's great. So we've done a round on the left and a round on the right, the sun salutation. So we've just evened that out. So I'm going to just take a little reset now. So we're going to take a little tree pose, Vrikshasana. That just allows the body to reset a little bit and recalibrate. So we'll take a nice still posture. So let's ground through the feet. And again, you may want to just pick up the toes a couple of times and make sure you've got a nice steady base. Feel that contact with the earth underneath the feet. And then we're going to come onto the right toe. So we're just bringing a little bit of weight into that left foot now. And then let's turn the sole of the right foot towards the left ankle. So the right knee is bent. Now you can stay here if that feels good for you. Or you could start to just bring the right foot up a little bit and just see where the right foot wants to come. So it may just want to come onto the inner shin of the left leg. It may want to come a little bit higher. So just take a couple of moments to focus. And one of the things that you'll want to find here is a drishti spot. So this is a point where a fixed point that the gaze just come to rest for a few moments. So if you want to experiment and bring the foot a little bit higher, you can do, just not onto the inner knee. So either the thigh or the shin or ankle. Just take a couple of moments here. Just resetting, regrounding. And let's now release the right leg. And shake out the left leg. Let's do the same on the other side. So let's ground the right foot. Come onto the left toe, so just raise the left heel. Turn so that the sole of the left foot is in contact with the right ankle. And then it may want to come up a little bit higher to either the inner calf or the inner thigh. Picking your drishti spot. And we're just recentering. Recalibrating the breath. Now you just want to start to steady, slow down slightly. And then let's slowly release the left leg back down. Let's take a shake of that right leg. Just shake left. So just giving the upper body a little bit of a break. Okay, and we're going to now just work back through a little bit more flow. So we'll take a couple more rounds of this sun salutation and we'll take a couple of little variations along the way just to mix it up. So I'd like you just to reset yourselves into your Tadasana at the top of the mat. Rounding through those feet, palms just facing forwards, steady the breath, and then on the next inhalation, the palms come to the heart center, exhale, inhale, palms, hands come up and overhead, exhale, let's fold forwards into our Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Fingertips come to either sides of the feet. Step back with the right foot, drop the right knee, inhale, open the chest, look forwards. Let's ground the hands, step the left foot back into plank. Push back through the heels, and let's lower the knees and the chin and the chest to the mat, and then slide the pelvis down. Let's inhale into cobra. Exhale, coming back down, tuck the toes, coming back into downward dog. And then let's inhale, right foot comes up behind. Come onto those left toes, bend that right knee right into the chest, step it between the hands. Let's drop that left knee. Inhale. And we're going to just take a little pause here. We're going to move the right hand to the inner right foot. So just creep that right foot back a little bit. And I'd like you to just come onto those left toes. So we're just going to raise that left knee. I'm just going to take a little hip square here. So just setting the hips. So let's push back with the left hip and forwards with the right. So just creating a little bit more space through the front of the hips. Just bring a little bit of movement here in the slow lunge. And then let's drop the left knee back down. Right foot comes to inside of the right hand. And then the left foot comes to join the right. So we're coming into our standing forward bend. Engage those inner thighs, bend the knees. Let's sweep those hands back up and overhead. The Hastasana, little back bend. And then let's lower the hands back into Tadasana. We take an inhale, hands come back into prayer. Exhale. We inhale, arms come up and overhead. The Hastasana, little back bend. We exhale, sweep the hands forwards into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Ground the fingertips, step back with the left foot, drop the left knee, looking forwards into low lunge. Let's ground the hands, step the right foot back into plank, push back through the heels. Let's now drop those knees and the chin and the chest to the mat. Hips stay high for a brief moment, and then let's slide the pelvis down. Pelvis and tops of the feet come into contact with the mat. Let's lift up into Cobra. Exhale it back down. Tuck the toes. Straight into downward dog, or you can pause on the knees. We inhale, left leg comes up behind. And then let's come onto those right toes. Really tuck that left knee up into the chest. Step it forward between the hands. Let's now drop that right knee. And then we're going to do the same hip squaring exercise on the left side. So the left hand comes to the inside of the left foot. Let's just creep that left foot back out a little bit. Come onto those hands and raise the right knee up. So just on those right toes now. And let's square the hips. So just pushing back slightly with the left hip, forwards with the right. Just realigning the back of the pelvis slightly. Take a breath. Let's drop that right knee back down. Left hand comes to outside of left foot. So left foot wants to just walk in slightly. And then let's step the right foot to join the left. So we're back into our Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Take a bend into those knees, engage the inner thighs. Let's sweep the hands all the way back up and overhead. Inhale. And we exhale it back into Tadasana. So we're just going to take one more round, right and left, so that we get used to the feeling of flow. So just reset yourself. Moment to pick up and drop the toes. Traditionally, you would do 12 rounds of the sun salutation. So you would do 6 on the right and 6 on the left. Tends to be the normal way of starting a practice. So just for the numbers. Okay. Steady the breath. Inhale, hands come into prayer. Exhale. Inhale, arms come up and overhead. Exhale, fold forwards, nice deep bend in the knees, coming into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Ground the fingertips, step back with the right foot, drop the right knee. Inhale, looking forwards. Let's ground the fingertips, step the left foot back into plank. Drop the knees, chin, chest and forehead to the mat. lower the pelvis, tops of the feet come into contact with the mat, creep the fingertips back very slightly, and we come into cobra. Inhale, exhale, lower it back down, tuck the toes, come into our downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot comes up behind, and then let's step it through between the hands, drop the left knee, inhale, we look forwards, and then let's exhale it, so the left foot comes to join the right, standing forward bend those knees, let's raise the hands all the way back up and overhead, Urdhva Hastasana, little back bend, let's exhale it back down, hands come back to prayer on the inhale, and we take an out breath, exhale it, inhale, arms up and overhead, Urdhva Hastasana, little mini back bend, exhale, engage the thighs, sweeping the hands forwards, fingertips come to the mat, and let's step that left foot back, drop the left knee, inhale, looking forwards, opening up through the chest, let's ground the hands, right foot comes back into plank, drop the knees, and the chest and the chin, and then let's lower the pelvis and the tops of the feet, walk the fingertips back, inhale, come into cobra, exhale it back down, let's tuck those toes, and we push up into downward facing dog, left foot comes up behind us, and left foot sweeps through between the hands, drop the right knee, inhale it, looking forwards, and then we exhale, the right foot comes to join the left in a lovely stunning forward bend. And now let's take hands, sweep them all the way back up and overhead. And let's bring them down, palms facing forwards, back into Tadasana. So you'll have a little sense of how that feels in the body, just going through the right and the left side, using really all the muscles and allowing that stretch to come into everywhere really, from the feet all the way up to the top of the neck and the head, I guess. So yeah, so that's just a little bit of a flavour of the sun salutation, and working through it and coming through the rounds of it. We'll just come into a couple of little seated postures just to sort of calm the body down. So we're going to take a couple of twists. So let's just come to sit on the mat, and we're going to come to our half Lord of the Fishes, our Ardha Matsyendrasana. So this is where we've got a bend in the knees and the feet are in contact with the mat. So the left foot comes to extend actually, so the left leg is extended, and the right foot is going to step onto or outside the left thigh, so onto the mat, but on the outside of the left thigh. So you've got that cross over of the right foot. And then let's take the hands out in front of us, and we clasp the fingertips, and then let's hook the right knee into that inner left elbow. Release the hands, and the right hand comes behind the bottom. You may want to keep the fingertips grounded, or you may want to ground into the palm, whatever feels right for you. And start to just lift through the spine. So the spine is nice and alert here, nice and active. We start to just slow the breath down. The mouth is closed, and we're using our Ujjayi breath, our Ujjayi exhalation, to empty the belly, breathe belly first. And as you do so, start to initiate your twist from the belly upwards. And if the body doesn't want to twist, don't force it, and don't ever force the neck or the gaze here. You may want to keep quite neutral. Take one last breath. And now release. And let's change sides. So the left knee bends, so the right leg is extended and the left knee comes to bend. And the left foot comes onto the outside, that right thigh. Let's take the hands out in front of us and clasp the hands. And then let's hook that left knee into the inner right elbow and release the hands. Ground that right hand behind the bottom. Extending up through the spine, really creating some height and space here. And then if the body wants to start to twist, then do so, initiating it from the bottom up. So, using your breath. And slowly release. Let's take the legs and just extend them out. Take a little shake of the legs. You may want to take a little roll of the toes in and out. And we're now going to get ourselves ready for our Shavasana, our relaxation, to close today's practice. So if you want to put on any extra layers, please do so. You may want to put your socks back on, the jumper back on, really get yourselves comfortable, take everything that you need. And we're going to come to lay on the back on the mat. Again, choosing whichever position is more comfortable for you, whatever feels right for you, either with a bend in the knees or the legs stretched out ahead. So really take a few moments to get yourselves as comfortable as possible. Just setting yourselves into whatever position feels right for the body. So we're taking our final Shavasana. So Shavasana means corpse pose. So we literally come to a state of heaviness and a state of stillness and complete rest. And we just remind ourselves that this is the posture that's often regarded as the most challenging, the hardest of all of the yoga postures. Because we're often not used to being in this state. So really take the opportunity, take the time here. Just start to notice how the body feels now. You may feel a sense of lightness, maybe a sense of openness. Wasn't there before. Just start to notice that. Now start to bring your attention to the top of the head. Then the back of the head, noticing the contact point, the back of the head and the mat. The heavy sensation here. And then notice the eyebrow centre. There's a sense of openness and space here. There is a softness to the eyelids, the cheeks, the mouth and the jaw, and the tongue gently resting on the roof of the mouth. The whole of the head and the face are relaxed. Notice flow of air in and out of the nostrils. Notice the difference in temperature between the in-breath and the out-breath. Now trace the flow of air into the back of the nasal passages, and down into throat, and the chest. There may just be a subtle movement of the chest now. There's a heaviness to the backs of the shoulders. And that comes all the way down the arms into the fingertips. Maybe a soft curl to the fingers as they completely relax. Any movement in the belly now may be quite subtle with the breath. The fronts of the pelvis and the hips are open. And there's a sense of heaviness again in the backs of the hips, coming all the way down the legs, the upper thighs, knees, calves and the shins, into the heels, all the way into the toes, so that the whole body is in complete relaxation. So just take a couple of moments here, staying as you are in stillness. Now gently start to bring your attention back to the body and the position of the body on the mat. on the orientation of the body in the room. And start to bring your attention to time of day and the day of the week. Start to notice any sounds around you. They may be the sound of my voice, or perhaps the sound of your breath. And as you notice the sound of your breath, you start to extend through the in-breath and the out-breath. You may want to open the mouth and take a big sigh out as you do so. Just really emptying the lungs. Nice deep in-breath. And sighing out the out-breath. And then on the next in-breath, let's start to bring some movement into the fingertips and the toes. And circle through the wrists and the ankles, just keeping that nice deep breathing going as you bring the movement back into the body. Slowly hug the knees into the chest. Take a pause. And gently rock from side to side. And in your own time, come to pause on the right hand side. So roll onto the right hand side, make a pillow with the hands, and take a pause. And then gently raise yourself into a seated position. The eyes can stay closed or the gaze just stays down for a few last brief moments. The hands come to the heart center and start to rub the palms together. So let's generate a little bit of heat here. And now cup the eyes with the palms. And slowly start to blink. And let's lower the hands down the face, letting the light in through the fingertips. And let's bring the hands together at the heart center. And we just look up and we take a bow of the head just to close the practice today. So I'd like to say thank you to all of you for joining. And I really hope you've enjoyed today's session. So thank you. And I really hope those of you who have managed to make the other sessions have enjoyed the series. And it's been really lovely having you all. So thank you. And hopefully we may have some more of these to come. So thanks, guys. Thank you.